Hello and welcome everyone to the second installment of the incredible adventures of the unsinkable Alice Baker. We are still listening to music from a darkened room. Today is part 2 of this adventure, which was written by Dennis Detweiler in 2005 for Delta Green, and we have adapted it a little to play it in the 1930s in New York City. And with me is Vic as Alice Baker, socialite from New York City, and with her is her trusty sidekick Dottie Williams, who I have the pleasure of impersonating, and the two of them have taken on the job to find out whatever happened to Mr. Donnelly, who apparently killed himself while on business as a real estate agent, taking inventory of 1206 Spooner, which his firm is going to sell on behalf of the estate of the late owner, who died there a couple of months ago, namely end of January. We have now got the 4th of May. And the two are, or have been, searching the house, trying to find out what's inside and trying to find out what may have happened to Mr. Donnelly, because everyone they have spoken to so far has denied, flat out denied, even the mere thought of Mr. Donnelly killing himself. The two people interviewed include his fiancée, who's also the person who has contracted Alice, and his partner, who owns or co-owns, we should say, the real estate agency with him. And his name is James Smythe. And tell us a little bit about where you are at present and what the situation is.
Well, we got through quite a few of the rooms on the ground floor. We found the inventory list that we also wanted to look for, because that might be helpful for Mr. Smythe if he wants to proceed with inventory and selling the house. We had a bit of weirdish encounters, like doors not really opening, and it's getting chilly where it shouldn't, but hey, it's an old house, whatever happens there. We also found the diaries of the lady that died here, and we put them back because I think they're Russian. I can't read that. And now we decided to go to the room that dear Arthur hasn't been in yet, and we opened the door to, it looks like a bedroom. And oh boy, a lot of blood.
Yes, indeed. You have entered the master bedroom, and you've been assaulted by the stench of blood. And now, please make a stability roll.
You mean sanity?
Sorry, yes.
I am stable. I don't need to roll for that. Although...
Oh my god, she failed.
Yeah, I failed as well.
Okay, good. Well, I mean...
No!
Please roll 1d6. And she loses 4.
I lose 1. That's okay-ish.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So this is really something that you kind of expected and didn't expect, because obviously you knew that he is supposedly, you know, he supposedly slit his own throat using a straight razor. Now, you have never seen anyone cut their throat, but you do know a little bit about, you know, that there is a pulse when you put your hands on either side of your neck, and you have heard of blood spray. So chances are that if somebody were to cut their neck open, blood would spray out. The problem is there's a difference between knowing something and then actually seeing and experiencing it. And the smell of human blood that's not been cleaned up and that's been there for a while, and it's also quite hot, it's May in New York, is... Ugh. It's the kind of smell that, you know, it's this kind of smell of the copperish smell of blood, and also of decay. And the room itself, as you step inside, and Dottie follows, and Dottie is kind of like, but she catches herself. She's a little more disconcerted than you are. She blanches, and she's basically, oh my god, this is terrible. The room itself is the master bedroom, so it is very big. It's got a 4-poster bed, which has a mattress, but no bed linen, no bedclothes, nothing. And you notice a couple of things. The most notable of all things in this room is that there is suddenly 5 Alices and 5 Dotties, because the room is full of full-length mirrors.
Extra creepy, nice.
And as you look around, you realize that if you were to step inside further, you would get caught in like this endless tunnel that you can see created by 2 mirrors right opposite each other. If you stand between them, you get this, you know, this vision of it's a never-ending tunnel, and you have like millions of yourselves in there. And on the bed is the blood. Now I want you to make a spot hidden check, please.
Okay, she will just internally be like, pull yourself together. Come on, we are here for a job. And spot hidden. That is a hard success.
Okay. You look around, and you look at the spray of the blood, and right opposite the foot of the bed, about half a meter or so, is the wall. And on that wall is a really, really big, really, really wide, full-length mirror with a golden frame. And of course, there is a lot of blood. So you think that probably what happened was he was sitting or standing, either sitting on the bed or standing in front of it, and cut his throat, because there's a lot of blood on the bed and it kind of outlines a human shape. However, when you turn towards the mirror, you see that there is also the outline of a human shape.
Dottie dear, I don't want to get on your nerves. I know this is really unnerving to watch, but it seems there has been someone else in this room while Arthur killed himself or was killed.
What makes you say that?
Well, when you look at the blood pattern, I know it's not good to see, but
she's clutching her cross.
Over there, she would just point. She would not move in further to the room, but just over there, I guess that was the place where poor Arthur was standing, sitting-ish.
She blesses herself.
But if you look at the mirror over there, why is there also like an outline and a space without blood? You can't be in 2 places at the same time. So why does the police think this has been a suicide?
She looks around. She'll try an idea roll. Yeah, that was a normal success. So what you're saying is that there was someone else in the room because... And was standing in front of him?
It looks like it. So either someone was watching, or...
That would be a terrible thing to watch.
I know, so I honestly rather think they did it because it would make much more sense than all we heard about dear Arthur, because we are quite sure he did not murder himself.
So we're looking for a second person.
Yes. And I think especially we should try to find out which inspector is working on this case, because he's doing a really bad job.
Well, I mean, I'm not even sure if any inspector is working on it, because if this has been ruled a suicide already, chances are that there is no police involvement.
That is true. Then we should...
Maybe we could talk to the coroner or something.
We should definitely get them involved back, because, well, this is not going anywhere, so they can double check even. Also, isn't it a bit weird to have a bedroom full of these mirrors? I know there are people out there that like to watch themselves, but this is a bit much.
Well, I guess. I mean, they are actually quite tasteless. I mean, regardless of if you want lots of mirrors, they are just ugly.
Exactly. Well, it fits with the key lime roomish thing that we saw.
But it doesn't fit with with a really tastefully decorated dining room.
It's a bit like different people furnished this house. Okay, but I think here we saw enough. Let's just step back carefully, close the door. I will mark on the inventory list that this is the room where Arthur died, and Mr. Smythe maybe shouldn't go in there. He should send in a professional cleaning crew after we talk to the police, obviously. So she will pull out the inventory and just scribble some notes down on the paper where there was already bedroom in there. And then she will take a deep breath, because now at least the door is closed again and she doesn't have to see the blood.
Yes, well, do you think we should just leave? Because I actually, I mean, this is... Creepy isn't even beginning to describe this. I really didn't expect anything like... And suddenly you hear a phone call. Again, you hear the phone ringing. It's this phone again.
I know. Let's see if we can find where it is. And okay. Alice will just try to basically following the ringing, finding out if it's somewhere in the ground floor or upstairs.
You realize that the ringing is actually, it seems to be coming from the master bedroom.
Okay, she was probably already turning away into the direction and then realized it's getting more, the volume was getting lower. Did you see a phone in the bedroom?
To be quite honest, I wasn't really looking.
Stay here. Alice will just move forward, push the door back open.
Okay.
And we'll try to hear where the phone might be, in which direction of the room.
It's coming from further in the room, so not quite next to the door, and it seems to be coming from below. So...
This is odd.
As you look in, you can see the bed, but there's no bedside table. There is a dresser, but there is nothing on the dresser.
She would probably pull out the inventory again, because there was a map, although we only had a floor, the outline of the ground floor, right?
Yeah, there was nothing above Well, you do know that there's a second story because you've seen the
Yeah,
house
we
from
know
the
there's a
outside,
second, but
but the
do we know if
floor plan
there's a cellar? We don't, right? At least we haven't seen anything
you
yet.
don't know. Sorry, when I said below, it's kind of like not from below ground, but kind of like
Down more floor height.
floor level. Yeah.
Okay. Dottie, would you just stand in the door, please? Because I'm a bit afraid if I move in here that I will get distracted by all the mirrors.
Sure.
You don't have to come in. Just stay and focus on me, just to keep me in sight.
She's holding on to the inventory
Okay,
as if her life depended on it.
that's perfect. Then the inventory list at least is safe, and Alice will carefully make a step inwards and another step inwards towards the bed. She will try not to step into blood. I'm not sure if it's possible, but she will definitely try to stay out of this.
On the floor, there are just spray marks. I mean,
Okay.
and you can walk past them if you like.
And she would again follow her ear in case the phone is still ringing,
The phone is still ringing.
which is weird enough. Oh, someone is very persistent here. And I guess she would be crazy enough to look under the bed, because if it's not on the table,
You
obviously.
don't really have to look under the bed. As soon as you walk round the bed, you see it standing there. It's on the floor.
Okay.
And it's still ringing.
She would just pick it up like, hello.
Do svidania.
Good day. Can I help you? The voice, is it male or female?
It's difficult to tell, you know, sometimes there are women that have kind of like a very low timbre. You would say it's probably female, but you're not absolutely sure.
Okay, then she will not make the faux pas to say sir or ma'am or lady or so. Just like, can I leave a message?
Make a no roll, please.
A no roll.
That's education.
Where is it? It's... Thank goodness I have high stats. Yeah, made it.
You definitely recognize that this person is speaking Russian. You've heard Russian people speak before. And this person keeps talking, but you are unable to understand what they're saying.
She would be just like, I'm very sorry, I can't really understand you, and it's quite inconvenient that you're calling because the owner is not there anymore.
And as you're talking, the person keeps talking as well, so you're basically talking over each other. And then what happens is you hear kind of like a strangled noise coming from the other end, and then the phone goes silent, and the line's dead.
Okay. That didn't go well. Alice will... She's heard enough of crime stuff. She will use the edge of her blouse, coat, whatever she wears, and just wipe the fingerprints off. Because fingerprints already were a thing during that time.
For all I know, a sophisticated lady like yourself would be wearing gloves anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
then
the
I don't
ones
even
that
have.
are kind of like of very light, because it's
light.
summer, but the very light fabric. I
True.
wouldn't put it past you to be wearing gloves anyway.
No, that's very true. Then I don't have to worry about that. And I will hang up, turn around, and walk towards Dottie.
Who was it? That seemed like a very one-sided conversation.
Well, it was Russian, and they were talking quite a lot. Might have been a woman with a very low voice. I'm not sure. And then it was like cut off. I'm not sure.
Could it be the? Didn't Mr. Smythe say that the estate owner lived in Europe but was also Russian?
Yeah, so
Maybe
might
that
be
was her.
family.
But why would they ring the house? They know that she's dead.
Exactly.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but maybe the owner of the house that died had Russian friends and family somewhere. And maybe they
Yeah,
don't
that makes
know.
sense. That makes sense.
But it was still a bit weird. They didn't even listen. They were just rambling on. And then it was like, oh, out. Okay, we will not figure out what happened there. So let's close the door, and I would still be... Should we move on and look? We haven't seen anyone around here, have we? Also,
Well,
we didn't...
you said you saw someone holding the door shut in the walk-in closet or something, didn't you?
Well, I didn't see. I just heard.
Oh, you heard them. I mean, there was this lady outside who was walking her dog when we first came in, but no one has been inside now.
Exactly, and we haven't found any evidence that someone is actually living here now. The things we found were the things Arthur touched, probably,
Yeah.
like the mug.
And I would say that he was probably going to clean up after himself. I don't think he would have left the mug the way he had put it on the desk. I think he was just, or table, I think it was just, you know, giving himself a break, because going through this whole stuff must have taken a long time, and I don't think he meant to leave it. He would probably have, if he hadn't died, he would probably have cleaned up after himself.
I'm quite sure he would have. He was so in detail with all he found. I'm quite sure he would have cleaned up after. It all points to he really didn't murder himself. Why would he kill himself? It doesn't make sense.
Also, make another no roll. Sorry, idea.
Idea, okay. Even better. My roll is not better, but yeah, made it.
You know, there are two things. Number one, the person who used to live here, the last owner was a woman. Number two, he was not here to stay, he was here for a day. Why would he bring a straight razor? Or why would he find one?
Extra true. I think we found quite a bit.
You see, the thing is, we found kitchen implements. If I was going to kill someone, I could have taken, not that I ever would, but one could have used one of those kitchen knives.
Yeah, I still don't know why a razor? No one just carries around a razor blade. You have it at home when you need it, and
Unless,
a
of course, they're a
lady.
mafioso.
Well, I don't think Arthur was with the mafia.
No, I'm not saying that he was, but maybe whoever killed him was.
True.
Is there such a thing as the Russian mafia?
I'm quite sure there's a Russian mob. At least I heard stories about that. I'm not sure if they are using razor blades.
Maybe they weren't after him. Maybe they were after the former owner.
And they didn't like the answer that he said she was dead? Or they didn't even ask?
Maybe they came looking for something and came across him.
Oh dear. I would say we've done enough here. What time is it now? It's afternoonish?
It's afternoonish. It's round about. I mean, she came quite early to visit you. You went straight over to Mr. Smythe. Yeah, you were just gonna take a quick look at the house anyway, so I would say it's probably around 5.
I think we should just leave, close the door, lock everything up again, and maybe circle the house once just to see if someone from outside tried to break in or get inside, because I doubt the police would have looked if they thought he killed himself. And then we head out to find the next police station.
Yeah. Good. So
Okay.
you step outside.
We step outside, lock the door again.
There are now several people all of them elderly, walking around, taking the evening air, chatting, you know, neighbors talking to each other over their hedges, and as you had already thought, this is a place where people move who have retired.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of affluent, but it's not super rich. And they look at you, and you look very out of place.
Alice will just, everyone who looks at her just friendly nods and like a good day, and will pull Dottie into the garden, probably, as I said, to circle.
Everybody nods back, but you can also tell and see out of the corner of your eye that as soon as you step away from them, they start talking, and they're definitely talking about you.
Well, let them talk and have a fun evening, and maybe they're afraid that we will move in and scare them because we're not kind of what should live here. And yeah, let's head for the garden. Let's see. Keep your eyes open, Dottie. Maybe find some footsteps around the windows or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you walk around and you see that the garden is quite well tended.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing fancy, so nobody really, I mean, it's got lawn, which has been mown, so obviously either Smythe and Donnelly took care of this, kind of like preempting problems. When you show a house and the garden is unkempt, then usually people will go, oh, well, I'm not buying this. But it's not a garden where lots of planting has been going on, so whoever buys this really will only have to get somebody to maintain the lawn. There isn't, I mean, there isn't anything fancy. There are no flower beds, so the lawn comes up right to the house, so...
That is disappointing.
Yeah, because it's very dry, so you can't really see anything. What you do see, and what you do know about such houses, is that there's a crawl space underneath. So it doesn't have a cellar, but it's got a crawl space.
That would be something for the police to double check. If they know someone was in here, they will have to check the whole house. So note to herself, crawl space, tell the police they need to double check if someone was hiding there or maybe went through there. And because she heard about stories where through the crawl space you could enter the house through like secret doors on the floor, whatever is down there, but no. No. And that's not my place to be. We already probably went quite far anyhow. The police were not happy, but come on, Dottie, let's find a cab and let's get to the next police station. They should be responsible for this.
Okay, so finding a cab is actually not that easy, so it takes you a little while because apparently people here don't hail cabs, they ring for them.
They ring them.
So, but you do find a taxi rank, and you find a car and a cab, and the driver takes you to the nearest police station. You arrive at the police station, and it's a smallish one. You know, this is not the central station. It's one of those kind of like borough ones, or even less than borough. It's, you know, and you walk in, and there is a policeman in his uniform sitting behind what is probably meant to be the reception desk, but which looks like a normal desk. You can see his legs. You can see, you know, the paperwork on his desk, and he seems to be completely alone.
Oh, she will still enter. Just excuse me,
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Were you or your colleagues involved in the death at 1206 Spooner Street?
You mean the suicide? Yeah, ma'am. That was we were called. Yes.
Who can I talk to that this is definitely not a suicide? And it needs to be re-evaluated.
Miss, what are you saying? Of course it was a suicide.
It
Who are you,
wasn't.
who are you anyway, miss?
Oh, Alice Baker, my name, and she will hand him the card with her PI print on it.
He looks at the card, he looks at you, he looks at the card, he's like, he shoves his hat back and he's like, well, make a psychology check. And he looks at Dottie, who's also stepped in behind you. He looks at you, and he's very
That is a hard success.
he completely thinks you're lying. He is absolutely. I mean, this is not happening. You're a woman. This is a police station.
She will just take a deep breath. I can give you several reasons why this was no murder, and you can see them in the house yourself if you go back. It's not
What do you
that
mean? Have you been in
difficult
the
to
house?
spot.
Ma'am, this house is a private property. You can't just walk in there.
I didn't just walk in there. I had a job to do. I did some investigation, and then I left. I didn't mess with the with the crime scene.
It's not a crime scene. Somebody committed suicide. That's not a crime.
There were two people in the room when the
Says
deer
who?
says the blood spatter in the room. You didn't really look, did you? You clearly can see that there was a second person when he was killed.
Well,
Or killed himself,
this
however you want to
this
see
is
it.
nonsense. This is nonsense. Let me call the sergeant. This is nonsense. He turns around, goes
Please
to the desk,
call the
picks up
sergeant.
phone.
She will. Is there a seat like on the opposite side, or is
Yes,
it just?
there is.
She will just sit down with probably her handbag,
Kind of like,
and will just.
Sarge? Yeah, Miller here. Miller, yes. Well, I've got there's a person here, and she's saying that, you know that guy that topped himself? Yeah, in 1206 Spooner? Yeah? Where that old lady nearly had a heart attack when she looked through the window? Yeah, right, that one. So basically there is this person here who says that she was in the house. Yes, she was in the house. Yes, she. Yeah, definitely a woman, yes. And she says that that he was killed and that there was a second person, and you can tell by the... How can you tell again?
The blood spatter. Should I just talk to the sergeant and
Blood
explain them
spatter. And
directly?
when you say this, he basically moves away and cradles the phone so you can't get at it. Yeah, blood spatter. Well, I've no idea what that is. Well, I don't know. No. What? No, go to the house. I don't have a key. I can't go to the house, Sarge. I don't have a key.
We can get in. It's no problem. We have a key.
Hold on. You have a key.
Yes.
Sergeant, it's getting worse. She said she has a key. What? No, I mean, what? No, the coroner said it was suicide. Well, he did say that he'd never seen anyone cut his own throat with a straight razor and not hesitating for even a bit. Yeah, he said it was just clean cut through, no hesitation marks, nothing, but he'd never seen anything like it before. Well, yeah, he did say it was strange. No, he didn't have the razor in his hand. No. I don't know where the razor is. I guess we threw it away. Well, no, it was the... Yes, Sergeant. Yes. Yeah. Sure. Will do. And he hangs up. He puts down the phone. Straightens himself. Pulls up his trousers. Miss, I suppose we should go and look at the house.
Yes, sure. Let's do this. Know you're probably quite busy. That's why you didn't have really time to investigate this. But the fiancé of the dead poor Arthur gave us the job to look into that because she and honestly the people around Arthur all are 100% sure he would never kill himself. Why would he? He had all the things to look forward to. But yeah, I hope. Should we get a cab, or do you have like a police car?
I walk everywhere. I'm
We are-
on beat.
Then let's get into a cab because I'm not walking up there all the way. I will pay. No
He
worries. You
picks
don't
up
have to
the
worry.
phone, he rings a cab,
Yeah.
and he sighs. You've probably just ruined his whole evening.
She doesn't really care. If he would have done his job right, we wouldn't be where we are.
He's kind of grumpy.
She will just be happily smiling and just waiting for the cab. And also, by the
You
way,
probably have to make a sanity check because you're so smiley and he's so grumpy. Okay,
that's
so the cab arrives. He grumpily opens the door for you.
I will just thank you very
He
kindly.
grumpily opens the door for Dorothy, who smiles at him brightly. And then he sits in the cab as well, and he says, 1206 Spooner. And the cab drives off and takes you to 1206 Spooner. This whole episode has probably lasted about 70 minutes. There are still some people outside. It's now 7 o'clock, thereabouts. And when the police arrive in a cab, and the two of you, they are not even pretending to be talking to each other anymore. You see people just basically folding up their newspapers and watching intently. This dog has been basically peeing against the same tree for the last 20 minutes. People are very interested. Apparently nothing ever happens here.
Well, the police was already here, so it's again within days. This must be a spectacular thing
It's
for
like
them.
Christmas and Easter in one day, plus Halloween thrown in for good measure. So
Exactly.
he goes to the door and he says, so you've got a key?
Yes, sure. She will just basically stand next to him, open the door. She will not give him the key because it's not his to take, and she will put the key back in her pocket, and we'll just be after you, good sir.
He walks in.
I think not only we both will follow him and close the door behind us, just that no sneaky, snoopy people will just like lean into the door and look what happens.
As you walk past one of the windows, you can see a woman with rollers in her hair who's suddenly very interested in her begonias. And yeah, you walk in the do you take him straight to the master bedroom, or what do you do?
I'm waiting for him to go to the crime scene. Let's see if he knows where it is anymore. She will be just curious, and she'll be just after you.
And he goes,
Just
yes.
that way.
He puts on a brave face, walks to the master bedroom. He opens the door. Fails his sanity check. Loses 5 points of sanity. Now this is a problem. I need to get the... Okay. That's
5 points is a lot.
going to have a temporary insanity.
Great. We should have asked for the name of the sergeant before we went here.
I wasn't ready for this because I don't even have my keeper book. Sorry, what did you say?
We should have asked for the name of the sergeant just to
Sergeant
be.
Miller. Sorry, the sergeant was...
No, Miller is the one we are in the house
sorry,
now.
the sergeant was...
You didn't have a name. We only heard sergeant.
He was just called Sarge.
Yeah.
Well, possibly not called that, but that's what he calls him.
So this would be then Officer, probably? Officer Miller? Probably.
Yeah. Suspense is killing. So let's see. Temporary insanity, 155. I haven't received my cards yet because then it would have been really easy. I would have just had to shuffle them and we would have drawn one.
There are cards for that you can randomly
yeah,
just...
Juliana.
Ooh.
Really nice ones. Okay. Would you do me a favor and roll a d10, please?
Sure. An 8.
He goes into hysterics. And for 6 rounds too, he starts screaming.
Can I just slap him? In the face, blank, like...
You can try.
I will definitely try, and I will just yell at him to get his stuff together. He's the professional here.
This is usually dealt with by an unarmed attack, but of course you would get whatever your basic value is times 2, because he's not even going to try. And not, I mean, it's very difficult not to slap someone or not to hit someone who's standing practically next to you and is in hysterics. You will be able to hit them.
Okay, so no rolling. Or should I roll anything?
No, but I mean, be careful about the damage, that you don't knock him out or something.
Unarmed. Well, I rolled a 1, so we don't have to worry about damage.
Oh, it wasn't the attack roll, though. It wasn't a critical.
Oh. So first I need to roll attack, and then...
No. I mean, you just rolled a D3.
You just a
okay, all right, yeah.
D6, basically, because I don't have a D3, but it was a 1.
Yeah. Okay, well, he basically, you do hit him. He does take a little bit of damage, but he looks at you and he is inconsolable. He keeps screaming.
I will try to shove him out of the room and close the door behind us, and I would just yell to Dottie, find some alcohol.
Yes, alcohol, brandy. And she runs out. Let's see if she finds brandy. Oh, yes, she does. Okay, yeah.
And I will try to shove him towards the kitchen where basically Arthur sat before he went probably
so
in there.
In this kind of like this dining room.
Yeah.
Breakfast nook, as they call it. Okay, so you basically physically manhandle him, put him
push him, and I would just blankly basically talk like a waterfall, just like, calm yourself, and this is your professional job, and if the sergeant would see that, he would be really not impressed with you, and I'm really scared to tell him, because so far you're quite nice to us, and she will just, that he hears a voice and keep him kind of busy.
Dottie comes back, and she actually has found that was a critical success on luck. She has not only found alcohol, she's found really good brandy. And a nice glass too. This is crystal, probably Galway crystal by the looks of it, or at least that's what she's telling you. And she puts it down in front of you, and the bottle as well.
Just pour something in, Dottie, dear. And she will just pat the shoulder of the sergeant and just take a deep breath. And take a sip. Slowly, but take a sip. It calms nerves.
He takes a sip. He takes a second sip. And, he calms down.
Good. Now that you're calm again, would you just please tell me the name of the sergeant you talked to and how we can reach him?
Oh, his name's Updike. Sergeant Ronald Updike. I hope that's not a writer.
I have no idea. And which station he's working on? Because he wasn't in the station we were in, right? He was somewhere else.
No, he's in the main precinct.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. During this time, phone was still, you would call the operator and they would put you through, wouldn't it?
Unless, of course, he's got a direct line, which could well be.
Yeah, but if I would use the phone here,
Yeah.
it would be calling the operator. Then just give me a second. Dottie, look after him, maybe give him another sip. I will be right back. And she would go back to the bedroom, trying just to focus on there's the phone. Just pick it up. Just call the operator.
Operator, how can I help you?
Good day. I would need to talk to Sergeant Ronald Updike in one of the police main precincts.
And honey, which precinct is that?
She would yell back, "Which precinct number?"
And he gives you the name of kind of like a little bit of a greater area. Yeah.
Yeah, she would describe that and hope that.
Of course, darling.
Thank you very
this
much.
woman is probably 90 years old, at least that's what she sounds like. And so you hear the.
And please tell him it's quite urgent.
Yes, darling. And you hear the sound that is made when they plug in the plugs, and there's a Sergeant Updike.
Miss Baker here, Sergeant. We didn't have the pleasure yet to talk directly, but as Officer Miller talked to you a few, minutes, half an hour-ish ago.
Oh, yes.
He had
Are you that person who broke into the house?
I didn't break into the house, I have a key. Breaking into means you break the lock or window or something like that. I just unlocked the door, walked in, and locked it when I walked back down.
Miss, I do know what breaking in means. I am a police officer, after all.
But I know that's why I'm calling you, because Officer Miller had a nervous breakdown, and he's quite useless. He's just sitting in the kitchen drinking now.
He's drinking on the job?
At least he's not yelling anymore. He was screaming like a girl, just to point that out. So it would be really helpful if a real police officer, probably a sergeant, would show up and just look at the evidence we've found and see that it was not a suicide, but someone was in the house at the time where Arthur died. If a woman can see it, I'm quite sure a police sergeant will easily see it as well.
Well, Miss, what was the name again?
Alice Baker,
Miss
private
Baker,
investigation.
I have the coroner's report, and he ruled it was suicide using, and I quote, a straight razor.
Why would a man who just goes into a house to make an inventory have a straight razor with him? He went into a house where only...
he found it while inventorying.
A lady was living in the house. We don't use razors. Especially not straight razors.
Ms. Baker, I really appreciate the fact that you have called me, but I would ask you not to get involved in police work. Also, there is no case.
Well, there is a case. You're just ignoring it. That's why I'm calling.
I beg your pardon.
Would you please just look at the evidence and come here? Just humor me. I can give some money to the police station if you need a bit for new supplies or some new furniture.
You're actually trying to bribe him at the moment.
Yes,
She is
desperate.
So, okay, in that case, make a persuade or fast talk check, whichever.
Where's persuade? I will definitely do persuade. Come on, I'm not too good at this. Oh, I'm very good at this. That was an 11, so at least I'm making it. I'm not critical or anything like that, but I make it, yes. Oh, wait, I rolled... What did I say? 11? I will get a luck, and I will make it hard success.
Okay. So you have a chance of 20. Really? Only? What? No. What's your persuade?
Persuade is 20, and I rolled an 11.
Okay, yeah. Okay, listen, Ms. Baker. My shift ends in about 14 minutes. I suppose that I could swing by on my way home. But if I do, then I think that the NYPD Widows Club would welcome a little contribution from you.
That is even nearer to my heart. Thank you very much. We will just keep Officer Miller busy that he's not freaking out again, and we will just wait for you. The door is unlocked. You can just get in.
Very well. And he hangs up.
She will hang up, turn around, and will carefully try to get out of this freaking room again.
Okay, don't forget to tick your...
Oh, persuade, that's right.
When you pass them.
Yeah, so far there were only rolls I already made, so...
Yeah. Okay, so you step outside again. You can see Dottie is now talking to him. Turns out Mr. Miller is also of Irish descent, so they have plenty to talk about.
That is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to do anything special, or do you just want to wait?
She would probably just keep Dottie, keeping Mr. Miller and just whispering probably to her. The sergeant will be here in around, I would guess, an hour. We just need to get through the time, and Alice would... Do we already need candles? It should be a little bit more before it gets dark, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
It's May.
May.
Okay.
No problem there.
I will just... Will I? I think I will. I will just look in one or two other rooms we haven't been in yet, just to see if I can help Mr. Smythe with the list of rooms, because the rooms are empty. I can just know they're empty. Mm-hmm. Just keep him company, and I told the sergeant the door's open, so don't freak out if the sergeant steps in.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna pull up the map.
The map.
Can you see the map?
Yes.
Okay, so I would assume that you use the breakfast nook.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there at the table. So basically, you've been everywhere in this area. You've been to the you've been to the master bedroom. You've not been to the master bathroom. You did see the door, but you just didn't go in.
No.
Utility closet was the one where you couldn't open the door.
Exactly.
So then there's this. It says garage. It's it's a garage.
That would be the next room to probably have a look in. She would move forward, just peeking in if there's anything in the garage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you step into the garage, and it's essentially rather empty. Mm-hmm. Do you look closely?
She would probably walk through the room, just kind of closely.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me just pull up the garage.
And I think she would have taken... she would have asked Dottie for the notebook. Or honestly, I could imagine that... Would Alice have her own? No, she would ask Dottie for the notebook where Dottie usually takes notes.
Yeah, she hands it to you and a pencil.
Because she doesn't want to pull out the inventory list because she's afraid the police will keep it if they see it. So she will just use the notebook and will just make notes what she finds and sees in the garage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's quite a big space, as you also can see from the map. And it is mainly empty. And back here, if you can see my...
Yeah, I can see.
There is storage boxes. And so you see some, and then there are some old gardening tools, like, you know, a spade, trowels, pruning shears, you know, that kind of thing. There's also bottles of gas.
Mm-hmm.
You guess that they are probably pulling them in whenever they need new gas in the kitchen, you know, like how they exchange the gas bottle, like they do in Ireland today, these days, actually, and then you just basically plug in the new one and put the old one aside, and then it gets collected and refilled. Yeah. So you see that. As you walk around, you suddenly walk into something on the floor.
I will immediately stop and look down-ish.
There's nothing. But suddenly you can smell gas, and you can hear someone choking right in front of you on the floor. Please make a sanity check.
I was just want to say, that's a bit disturbing. Nope.
Please roll 1d6 for me.
Come on. Come on. That's a 1. Thank goodness.
Okay.
That is okay-ish. She would walk over to the gas thingies and would just try to double check if they're really closed properly. So see if she can really see or smell or see if there's gas coming out of them.
Okay, so how do you do this? Do you just keep walking, or do you double back a little and then walk around whatever it is?
She would double back and walk around, because she was already near the gas things, so she would go back and would be just like, whatever that is, and would walk towards the gas things she can see.
You look at the gas bottles, and the meters show that they're empty.
Okay.
You can still smell the gas, though. You can hear a low hissing noise.
I would go walking, try to circle the rest of the garage, trying to avoid the area where I basically had the feeling like I ran into something or someone, and would look out if I see more gas bottles.
No, you don't see any gas bottles.
Okay. Odd, but okay-ish. And she would go out again. Close the door carefully behind her. Would take a deep breath. And she would probably go upstairs. Because it's right around the corner, so...
Okay. You climb the stairs, and there's a door at the top of the stairs, and you can... it's closed.
She will... Well, is it locked or is it just closed?
It's closed.
It's closed. She will see if it opens.
The door does open.
Okay.
And it opens into what you would see, what you would call a sitting room. There's a table, with a tablecloth on it, smallish, kind of like in the middle. It's like one of those doily type tablecloths. There's a carpet. Near the window is a rocking chair, which is ever so slightly moving. And then you hear, my dear, rest now," from behind you.
Oh, hell. Rest now, you said?
Yeah.
She would turn around and just look down, probably, because she would still be standing on the top of the stairs, and she would just turn around like, "Excuse you?"
You're pretty sure you see a black dress just cornering and vanishing out of sight.
This house, there's so much wrong here. But
You hear the phone ringing.
we'll take a deep breath. I'll close the door again and walk down the stairs. And would just call out, "Dottie, are you okay?"
Yes, miss.
Am I imagining the phone again, or do you hear it as well?
No, it's ringing. It's ringing all right.
I'll give it a try again. I hope it's not the Russian lady fellow again, because I'm no big help with Russian. Officer, do you speak Russian, just for chance?
What? No. You see his face. It's already flushed.
And she will go back to the creepy room, because she is Alice. And she's curious.
Okay. You
And
answer the phone,
she will answer the phone again. Hello?
and you hear a male voice saying, a young voice, probably in his 20s, early 30s. "Who is this?"
Baker, my name. Can I leave a message?
Yes. Well, this is Michael Donnelly. Can you tell Mr. Smythe that I will be a little bit late with the inventory? It's taking me a little longer. Can you take a note of this? This is very important. He's waiting for my report.
Excuse me, could you give your name again?
This is Michael Donnelly. I'm Mr. Smythe's partner.
Michael Donnelly.
Yes, and Miss Baker, I didn't realize that Mr. Smythe had hired a secretary. It's well, we haven't met. I'm his partner, but I'm pretty sure we will meet when I'm back in the office. But could you please let him know that it's taking me a little longer than expected? The house is quite big.
He already knows that. It's not a surprise for him. Just because, do you have a brother named Arthur?
Sorry, he said Arthur Donnelly. I don't know where Michael came from.
Okay, then I'm just like, what? Well, Arthur, how long have you... Where are you at the moment?
I'm at the house.
Well, I am at the house as well.
I'm ringing the office. You can't be at the house. I'm ringing the office.
I am at Spooner Street at the house. I'm not at the office. I met Mr. Smythe in the morning, but I'm at the house as well. Which room are you?
Somebody's coming, and he hangs up.
There's too much happening. I can't write all of it down.
Where's Dottie when you really need her? Getting drunk with a police officer.
She will collect herself a bit. Will probably stare at the phone still in her hand. Will carefully hang it up again.
At this moment, you hear the doorbell.
Let's hope that this is the sergeant, because this is really getting weird. And she would walk out. I think by now she's slowly getting used to the weird mirrors everywhere and has the focus on there's the door outside. And we'll just walk towards the door if Dottie wasn't quicker, which might be an option.
Dottie has been drinking. You've never seen her like this. Dottie is completely drunk.
Well, poor thing went through quite a bit because of me and this thing. Then she will walk towards the door and will... Is there like a hole you can look through, or window or so? She will look through before she opens. Just to see who is outside.
And you don't know who you were expecting, but what you can see is Arthur Donnelly's fiancée is standing outside.
She will just open the door very carefully and be just like, Sarah, what are you doing here?
Miss Baker, where is he? Where is Arthur? He rang me. He said he was at the house. He told me to come.
Well, I think we have a problem. I talked to him. He thought
You saw him. Where is he?
No. Well, come inside. And she would just open the door, pull her inside, and be just like, we'll point her to the dining room. The nice room with the nice table and the nice chairs, and be like, just sit down for a second. He's not here.
As she's sitting down, the door to the kitchen area opens. In staggers Dottie. It'll be fine. Don't mind me. I'm just getting something to drink. Oh, hello, Miss Whitman. So good to see you. Lovely day today, isn't it?
Ignore. She was a bit shocked about what we...
And she starts rummaging, not very quietly, through... You see that there is assorted bottles of alcohol. She found them. And she's like, this is whiskey from the old country. We'll have this. And what's this? More brandy. Yes, why not?
Dottie, just like, pick something and leave.
Like brandy or whiskey?
Take the whiskey, dear, and get out.
And she, you know how sometimes people who are very drunk try to pretend not to be drunk, and they pull themselves up and try to walk really, really straight and fail. That's how she's walking.
Okay. Dottie, dear, would you please mind not drinking yourself anymore? I need you functioning, and you're far behind that already.
I only had a little one. Like,
you will have a massive headache, dear, tomorrow morning. Believe me, I've done it. Just drink.
I only had the one, miss.
Grab some water, maybe. Just a little bit in between. Just promise me to drink some water, and then maybe another sip of alcohol. But then water again, please.
You can totally mix water and whiskey. You're
No, separately, dear, please.
She closes the door behind her, and she closes it very loudly. You're pretty sure that she's lost full motor control of her hands at this stage. And she walks into something because you hear a bump and a curse. She doesn't normally curse. So Sarah is sitting at the table.
I am very, very sorry about this. As I said, Dottie was quite disturbed about what we saw. I really don't think Arthur can be here after... Well, he's definitely dead. The coroner has the body. There's too much blood out there for someone being okay. And, but I'm with you. The weird thing is I had him on the phone as well, but he was thinking he was calling the office. So he was thinking I was the new secretary of Mr. Smythe. But he called the house.
Secretary.
I know, I was standing in the room where he literally died. and he rang the phone there. Something is really wrong. I'm sure he's not here. He can't be.
But maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the body wasn't his. Maybe, I mean, I never saw the body.
Well, I haven't either. I just know someone died here because there is a lot of blood in the bedroom.
Yeah, but maybe it wasn't Arthur, because I mean, he spoke to me and I recognize his voice. I would always recognize his voice.
Well, the sergeant will be here in a bit, because honestly, the officer who made the initial look up is not good. He's drunk over there, so we just hope the sergeant has
You
the
hear
right...
singing coming from the other door. The two of them are now starting sea shanties.
I guess the officer will lose his job this way. But the sergeant should be here soon, and let's see what he says, because he should know at least a little bit about the case, maybe, because it would be lovely if Arthur is not dead. That would be the best result ever in this case. But where is he? Because he's not in the house. We've looked through at least everything down here, except one room I can't open because the door is like maybe old and useless. He would hear this singing if he's in the house.
At this moment, you hear a knock on the front door.
That would be the sergeant. Come on, Sarah. Let's just look if it's him, and let's see what he has to say to this. And she will just like hook her arm under Sarah, just pull her up, and just walk with her towards the front door, and would look out again before opening.
You see a tall man in uniform, probably in his late 40s, early 50s.
She would just open the door and would just smile and would be like, "Sergeant!"
Ms. Baker?
Yes, come in. And this is the fiancé of the probably dead Arthur. We still don't know for sure, as it seems. But, yeah,
How
just...
do you do, ma'am?
I'm very fine. Well, I am sorry about the singing. Please...
It sounds awful.
Please don't fire your officer. We got him some alcohol because he was hysteric, and now he's a bit drunk. With my assistant together, I have to admit. Irish people.
He laughs. Yes, we have plenty of them in the force. Our Christmas parties are always very merry.
Yeah, that's it. And they found the stash of alcohol that is still here, so this we will not be able to use those two anymore. But come in, and I can show you what I mean on why I am quite sure that Arthur was not. It was not a suicide. And she would just point to Sarah. And after that, we need to tell you a few more things which are really weird, but let's focus on facts and things we can see first. I think that is probably to your liking as well.
Okay, so how do you get to the master bedroom? How do you go there? Because you're at the moment standing at the door.
I'm at the foyer, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She would walk straight up to the den, past the breakfast nook, past the singing drunk people, and then up into the bedroom.
You walk past the kitchen.
Yeah.
When suddenly steps out a woman who looks like she doesn't only use the chimney fire to light her cigarettes, so she has no eyebrows. She looks like she's a walking corpse that has been burnt to a crisp.
Alice would probably scream and
At
hope
this
the
stage,
sergeant is next to her and she would hide
sergeant-
behind him.
Sergeant checks
Come on.
with a
At-
63. He passes his sanity check.
Thank goodness.
He loses 5 points though. Roll a d10, please. Oh my god.
How can he lose points if he made a sanity check?
Well, he's just seeing a dead person walking around. That would lose anyone.
It's a 9.
Oh god.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Oh. Oh. We get to reference another table.
Ooh. Just for me, from where did the woman come from? Out of the kitchen?
She basically walked past you towards she's walking past you to the breakfast nook. She's completely ignoring you.
Okay.
63. Okay, he's got mixophobia. He's got a fear of slime. Yeah, she is kind of slimy.
Well, if she's burned, she can't be slimy.
Well,
could
I
she?
mean, it's like, yeah, well, you know, when.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Let's not be too graphic.
No.
So, unfortunately, Dottie looks up. With an 11, she passes the. That's a very good pass. So
she's drunk. She's not recognizing
she
things.
only has 2, so that's 2 minus 1. So there is nothing going on. She's like,
who is that?
oh dear. So he lost. So that's another 3. Okay. You make a sanity check too, please, darling.
I want to.
Yeah, well, you don't get to choose these things. I do.
Thank goodness. That is a pass. Barely, but I made it.
Okay, so you take 2 points of sanity loss.
Okay. Oh, that hurts, but hey. Okay.
Oh, that hurts. Oh. And the woman goes over to the table. It's almost like, you know how people look when they start laying the table? You know, so it's like they have one thing like on their arm, they may have like the plates, and then they just put them out like this. And these are the motions she's making. It's just, she's not really putting anything down. And then she walks back towards you, past you, into the kitchen area, and vanishes.
Well, that is one of the things I wanted to talk after the facts, because this is... Sergeant, I wasn't imagining that.
What do you mean? After did you see that?
I sadly did so. I don't know what is happening in this house, but I don't know if it's connected to Arthur. But should we try to focus on reality for a second? What do you think?
That was real.
Are you
that
sure?
was real. This woman walked past us.
How could she? She vanished right in thin air. I
But
smelled
you
some.
saw it too, and I saw it too.
I smelled some gas before. Maybe we're all a bit hallucinating.
You smelled gas?
In the garage.
And you didn't open the windows. He rushes to the breakfast nook and opens the window.
Okay.
I don't smell gas.
It was in a garage, not here. I don't... Why is this house working against us? I just want to prove that Arthur didn't kill himself. Sergeant, would you please follow?
He reluctantly follows you.
And she would open the master bedroom
Yes.
and hope that it's like she left it. She doesn't trust anything here anymore.
It is like you left it.
But?
With the exception that there's a straight razor floating in mid-air. And it's coming right towards you. Make a dodge roll.
The question is, would I dodge or would I have the chance to just shut the door again?
Well, that's a good question. You can... What's your dexterity?
70.
Roll on your dexterity. If you get a hard success, you manage to shut the door in time.
32! Yes!
Okay, excellent. You manage to shut... You see this, and now even your composure is slowly being eroded.
Yep.
You shut the door in time, you take a step back, you run straight into Sergeant Updike, who's standing right behind you. He's a lot taller than you, he's seen it too. He grabs you around the shoulder, like really like from behind his head. I think we should go now.
But,
and drags you out.
She will probably not resist physically, she will still be, but we need...
Did you not see that? Sarah Whitman is standing behind you. Basically, she didn't make it as far as the door. She was basically standing here.
Thank goodness.
She looks like she's just seen a ghost.
Well,
Which could be because there is somebody coming from the garage.
This weekend house.
The singing hasn't resumed. You hear Dottie saying, I think the officer has passed out.
I think we should leave, Dottie. Please collect your stuff.
Sure. She staggers towards you from the breakfast nook. She has the bottle of brandy cradled in her arm. I'm good to go.
Don't forget your handbag, dear.
Right. She goes back, comes back with this huge handbag. She stuffs the whiskey bottle into the handbag.
Dottie, leave the alcohol here. We have enough at home. We are not stealing stuff.
But this is really good stuff from the old country.
We have good stuff at home, and I can get you any kind of old country stuff if you want them. Please put them back. We are not stealing. And Sergeant, yes, you're right. We definitely...
She starts crying.
Oh, goodness grace. We definitely should leave. And who the hell is coming from the garage? You said there was someone coming out of the garage.
There's a man coming from the garage.
A man?
Mm-hmm. He's very blue in the face. He's gasping for breath.
Well, you I seem to have heard before in the garage, sir.
He's not talking to you. He collapses on the ground. He looks dead.
Well, not a surprise. Poor
Sarah
Sarah.
Whitman bolts past you and runs towards the front door.
Then at least someone gets out here. I guess it was not her dear Arthur that collapsed. She would have reacted differently.
No. This would have been an older man, maybe in his 40s, quite portly. Also, give me a no roll.
A no. Yes, made it barely. Why am I rolling so high? Okay.
And the sergeant pulls you behind him. He basically stretches out his hand towards Betty and Dottie and pushes her ahead of him. And then he says, you get your girlfriend out of here and I'm going to get the officer and run. And he basically shoves you towards Dottie, who really needs help because she's holding on to 2 bottles at this stage. This whole thing about not stealing didn't get through. And he physically lifts up the officer and basically slings his arm over his shoulders, and supports him on one arm and says, and now we run. And at this stage, something comes through the chimney.
Where is... Oh, it was in the den, in the big room, right? There was the chimney. Alice would just quickly, hopefully, just pull out the bottles from Dottie, just put them on the floor, and would just grab her and would we have to go. Now, quickly. Come on, focus.
She cries like a baby.
She doesn't... Alice will just pull her, basically. And Alice is surprisingly strong when she wants to be. And we'll just
much resistance. She looks longingly over her shoulder towards the bottles.
And she will follow basically right at the heels of the sergeant, I guess, and go towards front door.
And you hear screaming, like a screeching of a bird and flapping of wings in the den as you leave. And as you run out, the door falls shut behind you as if somebody threw it close.
Right.
The lady with the rollers and the begonias is looking at you and kind of going, nice night, soft evening.
Yes, just make sure you're not getting a cold.
She pushes her rollers up. Oh no, dear. I'm careful. You see the car parked outside. That's probably the sergeant's, because he did say that he was going to swing by on his way.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, okay, we should all calm down and get in the car, and I'm going to take everyone home. And Miller, this never happened. But I don't ever want to see you drunk on the job again. Miller gives him a big kiss.
Well, Sergeant, maybe we bring the drunk people somewhere and we could just sit together and I could just, in peace and quiet, tell you what we found.
In peace and quiet?
Well, that wasn't...
crazy?
That wasn't peace and quiet. I just want to sit down and explain to you what we found before this insanity started.
Everyone here is a crazy person.
There's still a murder that happened. A real...
Excuse me, madam. There's a lot of things that have happened here just now. Murder is the least of my concerns. We saw dead people.
Well, your sergeant, your concern is dead people, and your coroner has a dead body.
People, but when I see dead people, they usually lie on the ground or hang from ceilings. They don't walk around.
I want to talk to you about the dead body that the coroner had a look at with the razor cut thing. That is what I want to focus on for the moment.
That body is still there. I mean, he's still in the morgue. That's not our concern. There are dead people walking around in that building.
Well, first of all, who did decide that that was Arthur that you found?
Well, his driver license.
Could we just make sure it's really him and see if Sarah...
Who else could it be? He had his wallet.
You've seen
He was
all...
at the house. His partner, what was his name?
Smythe. Mr. Smythe. But you've seen all the insanity. Could we please double check that it's really him, because...
And who's going to identify him? Have you seen a body whose throat has been cut? Do you want to bring in the parents? Be my guest. But
Sarah.
upon your head be it.
Alice would turn to it, Sarah. Sarah, I know it's a horrible thing, but should we make sure it's really him? Because we both talked to him. He can't be dead. We should confirm.
Talk to him?
Well, both on the phone. We had him on the phone.
Oh, that was a prank call. They happen all the time. Some people are just...
But not separately to people. And Sarah, you swore it sounded like him.
Of course it sounded like him. I would know his voice anywhere.
So, Sergeant, I just am talking to you as a professional crime-solving person. I have no idea what happened in there, and honestly, I would be thankful not to think of this too much in the next few hours. Could we focus on Arthur, a dead body, at the Corona? Just checking if it's him or not.
And make a persuade roll. Or fast talk, whichever you prefer.
Persuade.
Okay.
My fast talk is not... Well, my persuade is not good either.
You take a bonus die for this one, so you roll the 100...
Twice.
Yeah, and you take the lower of the two.
She will probably also, like, put her hand carefully on the arm of the sergeant, just be like... Thank you for the bonus die. That definitely helped. That is still not enough, but I can't regain luck, right? If it's out, it's out.
You can, but not during an adventure, but towards the end. So between adventures, you will be getting back your luck. You will be getting back luck. I don't know how much, but you will be getting back luck.
She will give some luck points and will barely make the persuasion. She is shook anyhow, but she's trying to focus on things she can grasp and she can explain, because that she can't explain.
Yeah. So essentially, he is very shaken. I mean, he lost a lot of sanity in one go. So there isn't that much persuasion that you need. It probably helps that you are sticking to facts, and this is what we can do, and we should look at this, and there is a body in the morgue that we can look at, and that's kind of like police procedure, bring someone in to identify the dead body, blah blah blah. And he's kind of clinging to this because that reminds him of routine.
Yeah, that's honestly what helps Alice not to have a breakdown after
Excellent.
what
So the two
happened
of you
there.
might want to get married because you tick along the same line. You notice that he's wearing a wedding ring, by the way.
That is disappointing, but well.
He's also not very good looking and very old.
Then.
Anyway, so he says, "All right, then we will get rid of the two drunks and then."
To the morgue, checking if it's really Arthur.
Okay, so I know where he lives, and where does she live? And he points to Dottie.
I will give the address blankly, and I will also hand him my card. I'm trying to be full professional and focusing on the routine.
The cardigan, he absentmindedly puts it into his breast pocket of his uniform, which is freshly starched, might I add. And he drives Officer Miller home, and then he drives to your place, and Dottie has given up all pretense. She's drinking from the bottle now.
No, I pulled out the bottles of her hands.
Well, she was sneaky. There's a third one in the handbag.
Dottie, we need to return the bottle. Is it like the original alcohol bottle, or is it like filled up in a nice crystal?
No, it's not in a carafe. It's
okay.
It's actually the bottle, yeah.
So we need to get another bottle and replace it. Okay, Dottie, please just go. Leave the alcohol. Take a large mug of water, drink it, and go to bed.
Miss.
I will see you tomorrow.
She gets out of the car, walks into the post of the front door, takes a step back, unlocks the door. She manages to do this, goes inside, and there's a large thump noise, and it could be that she just collapsed in the foyer, but who cares?
At least the door is closed. That's the important thing. Okay, then the drunk kids are gone.
And the two of you, with Sarah Whitman, drive to the morgue. It's now quite late. It's now about 10 o'clock at night. And here we will take a quick break.
Okay.
And we will see what happens after the break. You arrive at the morgue. And the sergeant is able to find a parking space because it's late at night and nobody ever goes to the morgue at night. And there's kind of like a porter type person who will be able to take receipt of incoming dead bodies, as it were. So it's you can deliver dead bodies 24 hours and 7 days a week. And he's like, Sergeant, what a surprise. Where's the body? And he looks around. And the sergeant goes, no, we're here to speak to the coroner. We're here to look at a body rather than bring one in. Oh, right. Sorry. I wasn't informed. Do come in. Do come in. And he opens the door for you, and he says, "Ma'am." And then he sees Sarah, and he's like, "Ma'am," and very confused that there are two young women, both good looking, both quite, you really well dressed, and she is neatly dressed, although of course she doesn't have your kind of money. And that they're coming and together with the sergeant, and and he says, I, I won't be long. And he comes and he walks away, and then he comes back and he says, Ms. Baker, Ms. Whitman, this is Milner Quimby. He's the coroner. Oh, very, very charmed to meet you. And he basically takes your hand, and he kisses your hand, and he kisses Sarah Whitman's hand. Well, I have to say that I'm very surprised that there are so many people who are visiting me tonight, because usually, nobody's really interested in my work. But of course, what can I do for you, Sergeant? Well, we're here to see the body of Arthur Donnelly, the man who cut his own throat. Ah, yes, the suicide. Yes, of course. Do come in. Ladies, if you would like to sit down in the waiting area, Sergeant, if you will follow me, and I will show you the body.
Sergeant, just call when you think it's fit for us to check if it's...
Oh, it's never fit for ladies to view such a body. He is in an awful mess. He cut his throat. He looks terrible. And you can hear Sarah, you can practically feel Sarah falling apart.
Yeah, the whole time, the moment we entered, I would have kept Sarah next to me, probably holding at least her arm or her hand, just be like, Carter, Mr. Quimby, just see if you could cover him up at least. We just need the face.
And you don't even want to see the of course you don't want to see the wound. Nobody ever does.
His fiancée, so please.
I beg your pardon, Miss. I am so I'm so sorry. All right. So it will be a viewing then, will it?
Yes.
Just I won't be a moment. Jackson. And then a man walks in who looks like he's ready to drop dead. He's probably worked here all his life, and maybe even after his life ends, he'll still be working here. He looks like he's 150 years old. And he walks in and he says, We've got a viewing. Please get the flowers. And was he Catholic, Protestant, or Jewish?
Make it. We don't need flowers and all. Just make sure
it's
that
a viewing, Ms. What was the name? I'm sorry.
Baker. We don't.
It is a viewing, and we have standards to maintain. And he walks away. He just leaves you standing there.
She will just look at the sergeant, just like, really.
And he waits until he's out of earshot. He says, well, he doesn't get visitors very often. He does take his job very seriously. And this is a viewing, so we will have to wait.
Well, the question is, how seriously does he take it when he just suspects suicide? But well, he will explain, maybe, probably. Would he have some minutes afterwards to just not show, but explain?
Oh, I'm sure that this can be arranged, not a problem.
Okay.
So you sit down in the waiting area. It's kind of like, it's got leaflets of undertakers and, so essentially rest in peace, that kind of thing. And different coffin models are pictured, and prices. And, ooh, wow, they are quite expensive. And there's also kind of like, it's a very sedate color, the settee that you're sitting on, and you're wondering, okay, if I really have to sit in this longer, I might actually commit suicide myself. And after what seems forever, but it's probably more like 30 minutes, Mr. Quimby comes back, and he says, if you will follow me, please.
Thank you. Come on.
And he takes
Sarah.
you to a hole in the wall with glass. So window would be one way of saying it. And there's a curtain on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And he taps the window ever so lightly, and then the curtain opens, and you see it's kind of like a table, and on it you can see the shape of a body fully covered in a shroud.
Mm-hmm.
There are some candles there. There is a cross hanging on the wall. There are some flowers, and actually the whole arrangement is very tasteful. You know, they are white lilies, and then he says, "Are you ready?" And he looks at Sarah Whitman, and his whole demeanor has changed. He is very, very kind and very empathetic, and he basically then lightly touches her on the shoulder and says, "Whenever you're ready, madam." And she says, and she nods, and then he taps the window slightly again, and then you see Jackson moving into view, and he pulls back in a very elegant motion. He pulls back the shroud so that it really just shows the face up to the chin. Perfect. And you can tell that he has made this motion. If he's made it once, he's made it 1,000 times. He knows exactly how to do this. And he's standing behind the body so that the face is in full view. And you can see the profile of a young man. You can tell that he's clean shaven. And definitely somebody has done something with his hair, because it looks expertly combed, and you would say it's probably held in place with some product.
Mm-hmm. She would just look back and forth between Sarah and the body just to see if Sarah shows any kind of reaction.
Sarah starts crying immediately, and the sergeant says, "Miss Whitman, can you confirm that this is your fiancé, Mr. Arthur Donnelly?" And she says, yes, that's him.
Alice will just make, I think...
And Jackson reacts immediately and covers the head again and steps forward again very elegantly and closes the curtain. And Mr. Quimby has lost no time. He has taken Sarah by the arm, and he's leading her now towards another door, not the waiting area, mm-hmm. but a door to the right, and that is another what looks like a waiting area, but it looks very different. There is no mention of death. There are there's no mention of coffins or anything. It is very tastefully decorated. You can see that there is a little shelf, and you can see that there is a Bible on there. You also see that there is something that has Cyrillic writing on it. Mm-hmm. There's a cross on the wall, and also there's a table. There is some alcohol on there. You can see it's like, and this is in a carafe, and you can tell it's kind of like this amber-colored liquid, so it's probably brandy as well. And he pours a little glass and he offers it, and he says, "Would you like some sherry, madam?" And he offers her some sherry, and she takes it and she drinks it, and he leads her to sit down in a very comfortable chair, and he says, "I will be right outside," and leaves. And you can hear Sarah crying. She's crying quietly, but you can hear her crying.
Okay, so it is definitely him. I still don't know why and who made the horrible calls. Well, to me, I'm not as shook, but to Sarah, telling her she should come to the house.
I mean, People make prank calls. It does happen. They look at the obituaries, who has died, and then they just make calls. We have heard this before.
Would they also know where he died? Because they sent him to the house, her to the house.
We have not released this. In the obituary, it just said that he had died. It didn't even mention that he had killed himself. And we don't release any information because for us this is not a case. He killed himself. This is more a case for a priest.
So whoever called Sarah knew where he died, and whoever called me knew the house because they called in the house.
So you say that Arthur Donnelly called you while you were at 1206 Spooner?
Yes, and he thought he was calling the office and wanted to leave a message for Mr. Smythe, which was really weird.
And Miss Whitman got a call, and he says it's kind of like quietly to you so that Sarah isn't, I mean, she would hear him if she really tried to understand what he's saying, but he's really talking very quietly. Mm-hmm. And you're saying that she got a phone call from Arthur telling her to come to the house?
Yes. That's why she was there. When I called you, she wasn't there. She showed up a few minutes before you. And it sounds like he gave her a call first and then me, because she got a call, got to the house, and on the way I got the call in the house. Then she knocked, I talked to her, and then you knocked and showed up, and then all the craziness started.
Yeah, and about that craziness,
I have no idea what is happening in the house. The only thing why... Well, should we just... I think she still needs a few minutes. Just start from the beginning. Sarah showed up at my place and asked me if I could investigate the death of her fiancé because she couldn't believe that he killed himself. Mr. Smythe said the same thing. He had a lot of things looking forward to. He had a career that was booming. He was taking over the company basically because Mr. Smythe is planning on stepping back, so he would be in full lead. He was engaged to this adorable young lady, so there was no reason to kill himself. And then we looked through the house just curiously if we could find something, and in the room where he got killed, I'm honestly saying he got killed, in the blood spatter, you could clearly see there were two people in the room because there were two different areas where there was no blood, like someone was standing there. And also the question, where on earth did he get the razor? Because do you carry a razor with you all the time? I don't know.
Most certainly not, madam.
If men do that to be able to shave whenever they want to, but I suspected you have your razors in the bathroom, and
he does this unconsciously.
And Arthur the same. And the house belonged to a lady. We don't have straight razors. For what? We don't need them.
I mean, I read the coroner's report, of course, but it was ruled suicide.
What if
I mean, I've seen many things in my career. People don't usually... I mean, let me put it this way. People who commit suicide broadly fall into two categories. The ones that really mean it, and the ones that kind of mean it but hope that they don't succeed. The ones that really mean it are usually always successful. And they will throw themselves off bridges, or from buildings, or in front of trains. The ones that don't necessarily want to die usually take some form of poison Sometimes they try to hang themselves, but very inaptly so. Some of them survive and are really, 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 really crippled afterwards. If your neck doesn't break, and if you then start to suffocate, you may survive, but your brain might be damaged. I've never seen anyone kill themselves using a straight razor to the neck. I've seen people cut their wrists. Usually they do it the wrong way. They do it like this. But if you really want to die, you have to do it like this. The ones that know what they do and how to do it right, and they die very quickly. Especially if they also take an additional step of lying down in a hot bath. But to kill yourself, drawing a razor across your neck, is something I've never seen before. I've seen people get killed this way, but usually from behind, by someone else.
Well, in case Dottie and I saw it correctly, that there was a second person, is there any way, maybe the Corona has an idea, would there be a way a person could stand next to him, in front of him, behind him?
Well, we could ask Milner.
Let's maybe give it a try.
And he looks over and he says, do you think she'll be all right if we just step out for a second?
I'm quite sure. I will just... Sarah dear, we will be right back in a second. I'm just trying to clarify a few more things and make sure we at least know it was no suicide. Because your Arthur would not do that. We know that.
She sobs and blows her nose, and she just nods and, you know...
I'll just quickly pat her shoulder and would just lean the door that she's a bit on her own, and then follow the two gentlemen.
Milner, this lady has a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. And Mr. Quimby looks at you and says, yes, ma'am.
About the poor deceased Arthur, would there be any way that someone would have used the blade on him and it would still give the result that you found out? Because I'm quite sure on what I found in the room, there was another person in that room when he died.
Oh, that is very interesting. That's not what the police officer told me.
No, I know.
Well, I mean, let me just... I mean, I remember this case very vividly. I mean, sorry, pardon the pun. Vividly. It was only 2 days ago, after all. Well, I mean, Ms. Baker?
Baker.
It's Baker.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I've never seen anyone kill themselves using a straight razor and pull it across their necks. I've seen people try to cut their wrists, mostly very inexpertly, but this is something that I've never seen before, because it is kind of... I mean, it is possible. It is possible. But usually when people do this, they halt. Because it takes a lot of mental strength to pull it off. Because when you do this, it hurts like hell. And also, of course, as soon as you get past the jugular, blood will... Well, I'm sorry to say it this way, and it sounds probably terribly horrific to you. The blood will just pour forth, as it were. It will spray everything around you. And a lot of people would stop there, because they may not be expecting this essence of life to issue forth in, well, in like a pulsating stream, really, because it comes in waves as the heart beats. Anyway, I don't think we need to be that detailed. So people who try to do it this way usually stop right there. And also, it can happen that they fall unconscious quite quickly and then bleed to death. I have seen that. However, in this case, And I noted it down right here, and I don't know why you are saying that I made a mistake here. It actually says that there are no halting marks, and it was done in one quick sweep. Quite unusual.
Well, the question is, would there be a way that someone else was standing behind him, next to him, and would have been able to do the cut like that?
Not a problem at all. You could even do it from the front. I mean, that would require you being able to surprise the person in such a way that they don't move. But if you are fast enough, or if the person is not really expecting it, because maybe you're having a lovely conversation with them, you just pull a razor on them and do this. Yes, indeed, I could imagine that. I mean, it is unusual. Usually what happens is somebody comes up from behind, pulls back your head by the chin, and cuts across your neck. But that didn't happen here.
Okay, but it's possible that someone else did it.
I never excluded that possibility, but I was told it was suicide by the officer. He said that there was nobody there. There were no traces, and it says it right here. There are no traces in the house. The person was completely on his own. He was doing
Inventory.
Yes, oh yeah, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. Yeah, he was doing an inventory for a real estate agency, it says here.
Yeah, for his real estate agency.
Oh, let me just correct this. His, and he writes down his.
Well, the blood, as you said, the blood is like spattering out. So if someone
Well, it more
else...
pulsates out, you know, it's more like a geyser. Think Old Faithful.
Not trying to think that in blood, but thank you for the visualization. But if someone else is there and then they leave, they would leave a space where there's no blood. I see that,
Yes, but
right,
they would
Sergeant?
also be completely covered in blood. They would have to wash and clean themselves up. I mean, if you were to walk away from such a crime as the perpetrator and you met someone, they could easily tell that you had been in contact with blood, and lots of it, madam.
Well, he was alone in the house, so if someone else was there, which I think so based on what I saw, they had time to clean up. The kitchen is right around the corner. There's a sink,
Well, there
there's
you
a
have it.
motor. The only thing, I don't know how someone got in or out, because the house was... Or was it locked? We don't know. Sergeant, was the house locked? Or was it
I'm
open?
sorry, I don't have any record of that. We would have to wait for Officer Miller to come round, I guess.
Okay, so definitely nothing to learn today.
Probably not.
I swear to you, I was there for professional reason, and I know a private investigator lady is not a usual thing, but I'm usually not too bad at the job. And I saw the blood spatter, and then we left directly to meet Mr. Miller and just tell him what we found, because we wanted to make sure the police double checks, because it's quite a big difference if you do suicide or get murdered.
Yes, of course it is. Very, very different. Mr. Quimby stands there behind him and basically nods vigorously.
Yeah,
Yes, because if it's a suicide, my job here is done. If it is murder, then I will have to write up my notes and appear in front of a court. That puts a whole different spin on this.
Well, only if the murderer is found. If there's no murderer, there shouldn't be a court, should there?
Well, are you not planning on catching the killer? And he looks at the sergeant. Yes, of course, Quimby. If this was murder, then of course I would like to apprehend whoever did it.
Well, thank you kindly. She will turn to the
Well, I mean,
coroner.
if it I'm so sorry. If it helps at all, it was the cut was made from left to right.
Just give me a second. And she would go back to Sarah and just double check. Sarah, we can leave almost soon. Just a question. Was Arthur right or left-handed?
Um,
Now I have to make you think about which is the what?
and I think I'm just confused by looking at my own image because my image is flipped, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know how your room looks. I've never been there.
So essentially, when you're standing in front of a person,
If you're right-handed, you can cut
you
yourself
do it like
easily
this,
from
and
left
it's
to
from left
right.
to right.
Yeah. So for a left-hander, it would be impossible to go from left to right, more or less, because this is totally against nature. You always start far away and pull back.
But when I'm right-handed and I kill myself, I would also do it this way. Otherwise, I would have to drive it across. So
Yeah.
yeah, so he was
Yeah.
he was
Left
so
to
he
right.
was right-handed, yeah.
Okay, he
I'm
was
just
right-handed.
confused because my own image is
Yeah.
mirrored and I was imagining myself and I was like, that
No.
doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't
No,
make
so it
sense.
was from left.
Left
This is my
to
left side
yeah,
to the right
to
side.
the right side, and so
Yeah,
right-handed. Okay.
yeah.
She was hoping for left-handed because then it would be another clue on he did not do this himself, but okay.
Having said this, of course, that's the easiest way because most people are right-handed, so
Yeah,
the
yeah, sure.
likelihood
The,
is,
the, the
yeah,
likelihood is much.
yeah.
It could have been an option,
It
so
could have been
she
an option, yes.
she will just be well. Okay, that did not help. Well, Sergeant.
Excuse me?
No, I'm so sorry, dear. You just gave the answer I needed. That's all that was important. Just I will just grab the sergeant, and we will make sure you get home safely.
Yeah, the sergeant is still talking to Quimby, and as you step outside, and he's like, "So, are we ready to go?"
Yes. Could you just hail a cab, or I need to get Sarah home safely in a piece.
Do you have the address?
Yes, sure.
Then we will just give her a ride, shall we?
Oh, that would be just too lovely, and then we can maybe decide what's next.
Good.
Thank you so much, Coroner, for your support and for
Oh, anytime, anytime. You see, nobody ever stops by and asks interesting questions.
and
We are
thank you
so
for the
unsung.
very tasteful viewing. You're really making the best job in this horrible situation that the peoples are in. Really, really
He
nice. And
looks right, he looks left, and he says, Madam, Jackson has been doing it for over 50 years. I think he knows what he's doing, but I will pass on the...
he definitely
He
does.
deserves all the credit.
He is a very good man. He makes it as easy as it can be for them.
He was going to be a mortician, but then something happened. Let's just put it this way. He was never quite the same afterwards.
But it's nice that he's at least taking care of the poor grieving people that have to come
He's
here.
very good with grieving people.
Well, I hope you have a quiet rest of the night. No, well, all unless you want work.
Well, you see, this is a good question. Sometimes I crave work because it can be quite boring, but then again, I realize that every time I have a job, somebody has lost a loved one, and then I just have some more tea.
Well, thank you for the thorough work you did on Arthur. That definitely helped.
I suppose that this means I cannot really release the body to the family, though, if there are still questions around his death.
If you could wait, yes, that would be lovely, because honestly, the family doesn't know yet that he killed. They only know he's dead. They don't know how.
Which brings me to the next question. Should I bring in a mortician so that we can enable an open casket?
Yes, please. I will cover the costs.
That's not what I was asking. I was just
Okay.
asking because I'm not sure if um,
I don't know what the sergeant says, if this is already, or if I'm
he
not
looks he looks
good
at
in
he looks at
procedures like
Quimby and
that.
says, "Well, I would prefer if we could take a couple of photographs first, just to be on the safe side, considering that this has now turned into a crime. But once this is done, I think it's you know, it is safe to to hand it to somebody who can take care of the embalming process as well." And Quimby nods and basically then leads the way to the well, I mean, you pick up Sarah,
Yeah, you
obviously, who
pick up
wasn't
Sarah.
part and parcel of this whole conversation and doesn't know what's going on, and you pick her up and you go outside and go to the sergeant's car, and he drives Sarah home. And
Hmm.
then he says, "Well, considering that it's a quarter past midnight already, I think what we should do is we should wait until tomorrow, because I don't think we will be able to do much today, and it's midnight. Maybe we shouldn't go back to the haunted mansion at midnight."
No, for sure not. And I'm quite sure we should maybe have one or two other people there. Maybe also, I don't know, do you take photos of crime scenes?
Well, I don't, but we do have a photographer.
Maybe that would be good if you didn't take pictures, because then you would also in the picture in black and white probably see the blood spatter quite easily on what I meant.
Yes, that's not a bad idea.
Because, as I said, that's what Dottie and I saw. I would definitely prefer a professional view of that.
Hmm.
So, should we meet at the house at a certain time, or do you just want to give me a call tomorrow and we?
Well, I suppose we should meet in my office first and go over things that we can and should be doing and what we should be looking into.
Okay.
Because we saw dead people. I think we need to look into that as well. Dead people don't usually walk around. Take my word for it.
Honestly, I've never saw a dead person run around and just poof out again. The only thing they didn't attack us, except the razor blade, the others they like didn't see or recognize us even.
Yes, but I don't need to be not attacked by a dead person to not find it weird that they walk around.
That's true, but at least that gives me the hope that they are not murdering dead people. That they will not try to get
Are
out
you
and grab
religious?
things. Not really.
That's too bad.
Dottie takes that part of our work relationship.
Well, then maybe you should talk to her and find out what she thinks happened.
She was so drunk, I highly doubt
But if you explain to her what you saw, she might be able to say something. I take it she's Irish.
She definitely is.
Do speak to her about it.
I can try, I'm just worried that she will freak out and drink again. I've never seen her drink anything before. Drunk Dottie is a quite interesting new Dottie.
Well, it happens to the best of us.
Definitely. So, yeah, then we will come by your office.
Shall we say 12 o'clock? And we could have a light lunch.
That sounds just lovely and perfect. That also gives Dottie enough time to come to her senses. Because she will have a very horrible hangover, I guess. And poor Mr. Miller as well.
Officer Miller's probably written off sick for the next 6 weeks. So you arrive at your house, he drops you off, he waits until the door shuts behind you. And Dottie is not sleeping in the foyer. She's
That is
managed
something.
to drag herself to wherever she's gone to sleep. You notice that she just took off her shoes. She put them down where they should go, but the wrong way round. So not it's right and left. So she obviously, wasn't able to tell them apart correctly. You also notice that all inner doors are open. She just walked straight to probably her bedroom. She didn't bother closing the doors. She didn't bother switching off the lights. Um,
I will, with a grin, switch the shoes back to how they should be. I will turn off the lights, but before I will just double check as always if all windows and doors are closed to the outside. I will leave the rest of the doors open because honestly I don't care. I'm not the one who's keeping everything tidy. That's not in my nature. And I will probably have a quick look just in Dotty's room to make sure she's there. She's still breathing, snoring probably.
she is
And
snoring indeed, and she's basically what happened was she managed to get to her room, and then she basically just collapsed on the bed. She's lying there. Her face is turned to her side, so that she's not in danger of choking or
yeah,
anything, or like suffocating. But she hasn't undressed. Her arms are by her side, and she's just lying there stiff as a board, snoring like hell.
I would probably grab like a light blanket that she would have lying around and
And
would
she's got a
just
quilt.
carefully put it over her that at least she's not freezing. And then I would, well, get myself ready for bed and probably take a small drink as well before I go to bed and write down some more notes. Yeah, and then wait for the next morning. And I'm curious if this time Alice is awake before Dotty, because usually this is not happening. Dotty is her alarm clock, so this will be
Yeah.
interesting.
So you go to sleep.
Yeah.
You have a nice little drink, whatever you want. You have a very well stocked alcohol cabinet, and you wake up in the morning. The sun's shining. It's definitely after 7 o'clock, which is when usually Dotty comes in to tell you to rise and shine. But it's probably not that late either. When you look at the clock on your dresser, it's 8:30.
Okay. Well, how mean should I be? She will think to herself, just like, do I wake? No. She will yeah, get herself, just throws over a morning coat and will go down to the kitchen. And surprisingly enough, she will make herself some coffee because she knows how to do it. It's not that she does it usually, but she knows how to do it. So she will just prepare some coffee for herself. Um, and probably we'll see. I could imagine her getting the newspaper delivered every
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
So she would basically open the front door, just picking up the newspaper, just looking at the weather, closing the door again, and just sitting down in the kitchen with her coffee and the newspaper in front of her. And we'll just, from time to time, look at the watch to see when she hears someone is waking up upstairs.
Yeah, so you're having your coffee, you're reading the paper. It's the usual, gossip, but also, like politics and blah, and who cares, and, who's running for election, for mayor, blah, blah, blah. And then at about 9:15, you hear somebody stir, and you hear a very loud, "Oh, my head!" And you hear footsteps, um, heavy footsteps. You hear a door open. You hear another door open and close. You hear water running. It keeps running, running some more. And then after about 30 minutes, a very disheveled, greenish tinted Dotty appears in the kitchen.
I think after her Dottie moving to the bathroom, I would have gotten up, would have gotten some stuff from, well, the pantry and would start to make some breakfast. Not for me, because breakfast. But I know that at least for a hangover, some hearty food is probably not the worst idea. So I will make some eggs, some bacon, probably some toast or bread. And I made a bit more coffee than usual because I would just wait for her to show up and just like push her in a seat.
Yeah, she shows up, she sits down, you don't need to do much pushing. You're afraid that even if you push too hard, she might actually throw up because she looks very, very dizzy. She takes the coffee, she doesn't speak. You can tell easily when she's drunk, she's not a morning person.
That is interesting. And I will just put the breakfast in front of her. Probably I will have a fork for myself and just steal one or two little bites from her plate, and I will be just like in a very low voice, very quietly, just like, dear, you should really eat something. It helps with the headache and nauseous. I know it feels wrong, it helps.
She starts eating and she keeps it down.
That's good.
She drinks coffee and she's slowly unfolding and decreasing. So all of the creases in her face are popping out. And she looks a lot younger than she did 20 minutes ago. And she's like, "What happened, madam?"
What do you remember?
Well, I remember being at the house.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to the police station.
Mm-hmm.
I remember coming back with the officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he went into the master bedroom and then he started screaming.
Correct.
And you told me to find some alcohol.
Yes.
And I found some. It was really tasty.
I know. The thing is, I asked you to get the alcohol for the officer, not for yourself, dear.
And I remember singing.
Yes, you need to do that more often. You need to train that a bit.
And then and then other people showed up.
Oh, you remember that?
Yes, when we were waiting for another police officer. I think, another police officer showed up. And then the fiancée. I don't know what she was doing there. But she did say something to me, but I can't really remember.
Well, just to fill in the gaps. After, yes, we got back with Officer Miller. He went bonkers after he saw all the blood and the crime scene, as it seems. So we both managed to get him into the breakfast nook. You arranged wonderfully alcohol, much more than we should have, but hey. And we got him to drink something to calm down, and I guess you just decided to take a sip as well, because yes, it's freaky scary. I had a bit of look around while, basically, no, after the yelling started, I decided to call the sergeant. The sergeant that the officer talked to at the precinct, if you remember. And asked the sergeant to come by because, well, the officer was not really of help because he was already blankly drunk and hysterical. And, well, then we waited for them. I had a little look around. There was nothing too interesting to see in the garage, except it smelled like gas.
That could have been dangerous. Do you think that there's a gas leak? That would be very dangerous.
They only have the glass bottles and they were all empty in the garage. I have no idea where the smell came from, and I ran into something that I didn't really see. I don't know what. It was weird. Then Sarah rang the doorbell. No, it's wrong. Not Sarah rang the doorbell. The phone rang. If you remember that briefly, the phone rang. So I left the garage. I went to the bedroom
an idea roll to see does she remember?
Because she told me she heard that the phone is ringing.
Yeah.
So I went to the phone, and believe it or not, Arthur was on the phone. The dead Arthur was on the phone. He thought he was ringing Mr. Smythe's office, and he was surprised that Mr. Smythe would have a new secretary.
But Arthur's dead.
I know. Just listen. There's still a lot of I don't know why and how. When I tried to talk to him where he is, he said he was in the house and he was late with the inventory. Mr. Smythe would just need the notion that the inventory would take much longer. And then I asked him basically where in the house he is, because I was in the house as well and not at Mr. Smythe. And then he was like, oh god, someone is coming, and hung up.
Ooh, I know this! It was a message from the past.
Well, or from somewhere else. Well, the weird thing is that probably before that, Sarah got a call from him as well. Told her...
Arthur's dead.
I know, but Arthur called me, so he called, obviously time-wise, Sarah before and told her to meet up at the house. That's why she was there. She was there because Arthur called her and told her to come to the house, and she was quite obviously happy because she thought he's alive, and this whole murder thing was a big mistaken error, and he's actually fine. And well, after she joined, the sergeant joined. And when the sergeant joined and we tried to go to the bedroom where, well, someone died, a razor blade was mid-air and then flew towards us. We just managed to close the door. There was, at least I didn't see a person, I just saw the blade in mid-air and then moving. And after we closed the door...
Sweet Mary, mother of the sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah, I think that is all the things we need, because then, do you remember the person coming from the kitchen, moving to the table where you two sat, and then moving?
Should I? There was another person. Who was that?
It was, I think, a female, and she looked honestly burned, and not in a sunburn burned way, but in a fire burned way. She was moving towards the table where you guys were.
Do you think you saw a ghost?
Well, we saw her. Do you see ghosts?
But how... Well, I think this is the right time to contact Sinead.
Who?
Sinead. Sinead Murphy. She's the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter. She's the psychic we all go to. Well, I mean, I guess everyone from my knitting circle.
Well,
and everyone at Mass, come to think of it. Except old Mrs. O'Hanrahan. She goes to somebody else.
Well, hold that thought. Maybe she will be handy later on. But, well, the burned person, maybe ghost, just sat down. It didn't attack or anything. It just sat down at the table, started to lay out non-existing plates and cutlery, and then they got up again, walked to the kitchen, and vanished.
That's definitely a ghost.
And then another one came from the garage. An older man who suffocated. He just collapsed right in front of the door out of the garage.
I believe this is a haunted mansion. I mean, we've got plenty of those in the old country, you know, where all of the people died during the famine. They're still haunting the grounds. It happens quite frequently. You know, when people die of a violent death, they can't be released.
But ghosts, really? There must be an explanation for this.
Well, there is. It's souls that have not made their way to heaven that are stuck here. Sinead knows all about it. You can talk to the dead.
Well,
and when you think of the dead can hear you.
Talk to the dead on the phone, at least.
Well, I mean, she doesn't usually use a phone. We sit round in a circle and we hold hands, so she doesn't use a phone, but she doesn't have a phone. Maybe that's why.
Alice would just get up and in between make a bit more coffee and would just look at her if she wants some as well and would just prepare it.
I'll have 2 more sausages, please.
She will just, without hesitation, Dottie will pay for that later. We'll make 2 more sausages and some coffee, and meanwhile, and well, just to finish what happened, because we all decided, or basically the sergeant and I decided, because we were the only halfway sane people left in the room, to leave the house. It would be the safest thing to do. So we left. The sergeant was nice enough. He's a really nice gentleman, I have to say. He drove the officer around home because he couldn't stand a walk or anything at all. And then he dropped you here. And I am quite proud of you that you got in your own bed without help. I'm impressed.
Burn.
And then we decided to go together with Sarah to the morgue and see that Sarah could really identify if it's Arthur that they have there or not.
And was it Arthur?
It was Arthur, sadly.
And he's dead.
He is definitely dead. He did not move. It was as it should be. They arranged a viewing quite quickly out of nothing, which was really nice and decent of them. And yes, Sarah confirmed it's Arthur. And well, I had a small talk with the coroner and the sergeant, so the cutting with the razor blade could have been also done by someone else. The coroner just went for suicide because the police officer told him there was no one else in the room. If our evidence, what we saw, is right, it might have just been someone else that murdered him.
Well, didn't you say a razor blade flew right towards you?
Yes.
Maybe that's what happened to him.
But we saw the placement, there was a second person there. Did
Then
they
how do
watch?
you explain the razor blade moving all by itself?
I don't know. I also don't know why a burnt person walks out of a kitchen
Well,
and sits at a table
We
and
need to
walks
talk
back.
to Sinead Murphy.
One after the other. We are having a meetup with the sergeant at lunch.
Oh, nice.
So we will go there, we will meet him, maybe grab a few bites, decide on what next to do. I proposed to him that we go back to the house, but with a few more people, and especially with someone who can take photographs of the crime scene. Because I imagine the pattern that we saw with no blood will stick out in a photograph quite well. No one can explain the other weird things happening, although it would fit to the things I heard before, and the door not opening for me but opening for you. And also I forgot to mention I heard and then maybe saw someone. I went upstairs and someone behind me said something about, what was it? Calming down or something like that. And
My dear, rest now.
now I have to note, I was a page 2 behind. Rest now, and well, I when I turned around to the voice, I saw a black dress disappearing around the corner at the bottom stairs. So this, if I wouldn't be someone who believes in what can be explained, I would say yes, the freaking house is haunted, but I honestly don't know. Our main goal is still that the police admits that this is not suicide, that he was murdered.
But it
Then
looks like the police are already admitting it by what you're saying.
Well, they're considering, I think, the possibility now, which is
But
at
what
least
difference
something.
does it make? I mean, even if they admit that he was murdered, that still doesn't tell us how he was murdered. But I mean,
Well,
by whom?
at least Arthur's family can then now put him to rest without horrors. You heard Sarah, how panicked she was, what his parents would
Well, I mean, he
say.
will go straight to hell if he takes his own life. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone
and
will tell you that.
if he was murdered, at least everyone can be assured that he will be in a better place because it was not his fault. It
Well,
still
I'm not
leaves
so sure
open who
about the
did
better
it.
place because do remember he rang you.
Please never tell that to Sarah.
Well, she knows that he rang her too.
I just hope she just takes it at one step forward, finding an end to this. Also, she would get the life insurance if we really get the police to say he was murdered.
Well, that's of course a very important consideration too.
So let's just relax and collect ourselves a little bit more and enjoy the rest of the breakfast. And then
It was very
let's,
good. You should do that more often, madam.
well, thank you. And you know I'm not a breakfast person, so why should I?
Ah, well.
There we are back to that. And yeah, if you feel okay for that, I would love to have you with me when we go to the
Well,
sergeant.
of course, and considering that there will be food.
And then let's see what the sergeant says. He was shook by what we saw as well, so
Well, I can imagine. I mean, I'm just so glad that I didn't see the dead people.
you can be glad. It was weird. I don't know. I'm also not sure if I'm really keen on getting back into that house, but I really wanna have the police to commit and write down that this was murder and they are looking for the murder. Then we did the job. We helped at least Sarah for clarifying that. Then at least Mr. Smythe and Sarah can move on with family, funeral, life insurance, all that stuff, and they can start moving forward. And then we have to decide if we trust the police to finish this or not.
Well, then I guess we should. Well, we still have some time. When are we supposed to be there?
At 12, I will just give Mr. Smythe a short call that we have the inventory list. I hope you still have it in your handbag, dear.
Oh, yes, of course. And she gets up. She's a lot steadier on her feet now.
That's
And
good.
she walks out and she comes back with her handbag and she takes out the inventory list and she hands it to you.
Does she find another bottle in there?
She's not showing
She's
you
not
her
showing
handbag.
me. And then yeah, she would probably grab the notebook, although it's Dottie's notebook, but she had it in the hand when they left. I'm quite
Yeah.
sure she still has it,
No,
so she
you
would,
have it because you took it to
yeah.
the morgue. Yeah.
Yeah. So she will just copy the few notes she took from the garage to the rest of the list that is there and will hand over the notebook back to Dottie. Thank you so much for lending this to me. I think I really need to start to get an own one. And I will just call Mr. Smythe, tell him we found the list. I will tell him do not enter the house, at least not until the police cleared it, for sure. And I will maybe mention that the house might be haunted and he maybe should think about not taking the job to sell it. But let's see. And meanwhile, well, after that we can get ready, I guess.
Okay. So you make the phone call. You tell Mr. Smythe that he is very concerned and he says, haunted. I mean, that's
I'm as long
an
as
allegory for what exactly?
that
Because I mean,
people
a haunting is that's not real.
I'm with you with that, but I saw dead people walking around and disappearing, and I'm not the only one. The sergeant saw it, well, Dottie not, she was too drunk, and that is another big story to explain. I will replace the 2 bottle of alcohols that they killed that they're not missing from the inventory. And we got the inventory list. Arthur was really thorough in the rooms he was in. We added one or two things we found because we found like personal diaries in Russian that Arthur didn't see. So we added that to the list. I will send the list over to you with a messenger.
Thank you. But I mean, coming back to this whole haunted thing.
I just warn you, please don't get near the house in the next 1 or 2 days until the police has done the work. Let's first of all get them to finish that they say, yes, Arthur was murdered. He did not kill himself. That was the main goal, to get the story correctly. And then let's see what the police finds out elsewhere. We will probably go to the house later today, so I can give you an update tomorrow morning. But the police is already very open to the point that Arthur did not kill himself,
Well,
which is
I
good.
mean, I told you that it was highly unlikely.
Yes, and the police seems to slowly get to the same point.
Which would mean that the insurance company would have to pay out.
Yes, that would also be a nice extra on that. And also, we don't have to worry about Arthur's parents. It's still horrible enough that he was murdered, but it's definitely a much better thing than having to tell them how, at the moment, he officially died.
All right. Well, Miss Baker, that is excellent work.
Oh, and I will... It's depending...
How do you go about getting rid of the haunting, though?
I honestly don't know. I've never had to do that before. We will
Because
figure
it's going to be
something
very
out.
difficult to explain to the estate that the house is unsellable because it's haunted.
I know. We will see what we can do. Also, it depends. Do you need the inventory now, or should I just come by it tomorrow and drop it off?
Well, I mean, I don't need it for another 2 days.
Okay, then I will just keep it here safely. I will put it in the safe just to be safe and secure. And then I will come by and bring it, and then we can have a face-to-face talk, because I also have another thing that I obviously need to drop at your place, if you know what I mean.
You can almost hear him smile through
Smile.
through the receiver. Yes, the thing that you didn't take when I wasn't looking.
Exactly, and the same way it should return, because it's obviously still in the drawer where it belongs, and it will be there when we have a look together next time. So, yes.
Yeah.
Then have a lovely, well, however it can be lovely, but a lovely rest of the day, and I will keep you posted on what
You too.
is
You
happening.
too.
Well, and then I guess we get a cab to the sergeant's place.
You get a cab to the sergeant's place. Dottie has completely recovered. She's still a little bit rosy, but that is not because she's still drunk, but she has kind of put on some rouge because she has been quite pale. So she's overdone it a little. Yeah, so she looks a bit strange to your eyes. The two of you get in the cab. You drive to the office of the sergeant, to his precinct. He is already waiting for you. He says, "Oh yes, Miss Baker, Miss Williams, do sit down, and he offers you
Thank
a
you
seat. And he says,
kindly.
"Well, I thought we would have something to eat, and it is interesting because it's burgers and fries." And Dottie doesn't have to be asked twice. She eats ravenously and has second and third helpings of the fries.
She will probably also get half of the burger. Alice will just eat a bit and then push it over to Dottie.
Dottie eats that too, and the sergeant is very surprised to see such a tiny person put away so much food in such a short time. Um, well, so, I have a surprise for you.
I'm listening.
What do you know about the former owner whose estate is now trying to sell the house?
I know that she died in the house, as far as I understood. I remember something vaguely about her being Russian descendant, and she has family overseas. I guess, as far as I understood from Mr. Smythe, they are now living in the UK, and that's
He
why they
nods.
gave Mr. Smythe the job too. And there's also a lawyer around here taking care of the business in name of the family, and she will just... Dottie, what was his name? I'm quite sure you wrote it down.
She beams at everyone and says, Jonathan Purcell, Esquire.
Thank you kindly. So, Mr. Esquire is basically the contact person for Mr. Smythe, and was honestly the main contact for Arthur.
Indeed. This is all correct, but here comes my surprise. What would you say if I told you that after 4 years of living in the house, Miss Romanova killed herself with a straight razor across her neck in the master bedroom in January of this year?
With a straight razor as well.
It was
And
ruled a
it was
suicide.
also
She was
ruled a
alone in the room, but
suicide.
she was found by the maid. The maid came in the morning. The house was locked, as usual. She wasn't a live-in maid. She only did for Miss Romanova 3 times a week. And she found her employer dead on the bed in the master bedroom. There was blood everywhere, and there was a straight razor lying next to her. She fainted, and then she rang the police.
Well, 2 deaths within not even half a year in the same room, in the same way. Sounds highly unlikely for suicide. For me, at least. You are the professional. You would know that if this is like in this place, everyone kills themselves in this way. But I
I'm pretty sure, and you hear Dottie talk, I'm pretty sure it's the house that's taking their souls.
well, as you see, I updated her on everything that happened. And
So
yes,
I
she
see.
has her own opinion on what is happening in the house.
I think that we need to find out more about the house. Because we saw 2 more dead people.
Yes. 1 burned and 1 suffocated.
That's not normal.
Yes.
What if Miss Williams is right?
Does that mean poor Arthur is stuck there as well? Because he gave us calls. I'm still not sure if these were pranks. Well, one thing after the other, I know. We know for sure Arthur died. The body is there. We know that for sure.
And we know that Miss Romanova was buried.
Which,
I checked. She was cremated.
Okay. Or we didn't see her ghost or Arthur's ghost, so maybe it worked.
Well, it didn't work for Arthur, because if he makes phone calls... I mean, as soon as somebody from Russia rings you, I would be very suspicious.
Well, someone from Russia called earlier the day when we were in the house.
Was it Miss Romanova?
I
What did she
don't
say?
I don't speak Russian. The phone rang. I answered it. Someone was talking in Russian rapidly to me. It might have been a woman with a very deep voice or a man with a very high voice. And then the phone call got cut off, or rather, the person got cut off, and then the phone call stopped. I didn't even
And you
think
don't find
about
that
it.
weird?
Yes, it was. That was the first thing, and so far we haven't seen anything ghost-like. So I was just like, maybe it's a friend or family that tried to
Well,
contact the
and
previous
you hear
owner.
Dottie pipe up from the back. Well, except for the weird entity that you encountered in the walk-in closet, which did look like a ghost, only we didn't see anything. It was just there.
One thing we could check: if we find someone who's able to read Russian, we have the diary, or we know where the diaries of probably Miss Romanov are. Maybe something is written in there that would explain things.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we could find somebody in the Russian community, maybe even a priest. We do have a Russian Orthodox, a very large Russian Orthodox community and several churches.
Then it would mean we would need to go to the house to grab the books at least.
But I understand we were going to the house anyway.
Yes.
I have a photographer coming.
Then let's do that, and when we're there, we will pick up the diaries, notebooks, whatever they are as well. And I promise I will not answer the phone if it rings again. I will leave that to you this time.
I still think we should talk to Sinead. And he looks at you.
The seventh daughter of the seventh. What was it?
Daughter.
Dottie?
Daughter. Seventh daughter of the seventh Dottie. Yes.
Well, someone knowing supernatural, ghostly stuff, as I understand.
Yes, well, yes. Officer Miller also swears by that. It must be an Irish thing.
Maybe. Well, it might be an option for later if we have no other idea.
And then there's a knock on the door. The photographer comes in, and Sergeant Updike says, "Okay, so then we're ready to go." And you all pile into his car, drive to 1206 Spooner. You unlock the door because, interestingly enough, it's locked. You can't remember locking it though because it was just slammed shut.
Yep.
You walk in, the house looks lovely, light floods in from the windows. The window over the breakfast nook is still open because it was opened by the sergeant the previous
Yep.
night because of the gas. He closes it, and you all go to the master bedroom. He steals himself and says, "Let me." And his hand grabs the knob. He turns the knob, slowly opens the door. You can tell that he's bracing himself for an attack with a flying or by a flying razor blade, but there is nothing there. And he says, "Well then," and he motions to the photographer, who basically goes, "Excuse me, ma'am," and walks past you with his huge photo, his huge camera, I should say, and he basically sets it up.
Alice
And
would just point out, there is probably the spot where maybe Arthur was, and there over the mirror, there's another spot where there is no
so
blood.
he's setting up. You're talking to the sergeant, because obviously this is taking some time, because I imagine at this stage they were still basically putting
Yeah.
on the powder for the flashlight, and he's putting all of this together. He's got like a little box-like suitcase where he's got the different chemicals, and he's mixing it all up. And Dottie's looking and kind of like, interestedly over his shoulder. And then the sergeant goes, and he takes a step back and walks back to the foot of the bed, so that he's actually standing at the foot of the bed. And he's like, it really looks like somebody was standing in front of the mirror.
Yes.
You can really see the shape. You are right. But as Quimby was saying, this person should have been covered completely in blood, head to toe. Just look at the spray. It's almost down to the skirting board.
Well, the question is, how did they get out of the room and maybe clean up in the kitchen?
Also, there are no bloody footprints.
Also, there's the bathroom. We haven't looked inside there.
That's a good point. And he turns to the photographer and says, well, I want you to take a picture of, like, standing where I'm standing now, of the mirror. And I want you to take all of this in. I don't want anything to be cut off at the top, bottom, or sides. Can you do that? And he's like, yeah. And he takes a photo, and he says, and take another one just to be sure. And he takes another one, and then he asks him to take a photo of the bed, and then, of the floor. And basically, they spend about 30 to 40 minutes directing the photographer to move in different directions and squat down to take a picture from a low angle and that kind of thing. So they take, 20 photographs, and they always have to take out the slide, as it were, and then put in a new one. So this is taking a while. And then he says, so should we look in the bathroom?
I'm not sure I want to, but maybe we should.
So you go to the master bathroom, which is adjacent and has a door to the master bedroom.
Yep. And
we will see next time what you see there.
Yay!
Thank you all for watching and listening.
So much. I hope we didn't creep you out too much, but it's Cthulhu, so it should be creepy.
It is Cthulhu. It's for grown-ups. And for those of you who are listening to this on Patreon, thanks for being our patrons. And we are using the money to pay all those people who make the lovely music that we're playing, who made the lovely graphics that we're showing. And do stay tuned for the next installment of Music from a Darkened Room. Bye.
Bye.